All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. Got Daniele Bolelli back here today, of course, historian, podcaster, writer, and mixed martial artist. And we're gonna talk about basically kind of debunk the theory that a lot of people have said, like Joe Rogan, for example, that doing martial arts automatically makes you a better person because, as you had pointed out on Facebook the other day, Putin, he is a black belt martial artist, and he has a black belt in taekwondo and judo. And I know you said that judo is like the more actual real martial art, but obviously he's like a fucking brutal psychopath, so doing martial arts doesn't automatically make you a better person. Like, you can use it to make you a better person, as I'm sure someone like you probably does, but like, if you can also just use it to learn how to violently hurt people if they cross you, right? So yeah, so this will be fun to get into there.
Pretty much, yeah. As far as I know, Putin he trained in sambo and judo. Sambo is like it's mostly derived from judo with some other stuff attached to it. And then he has his black belt in judo. I think he wrote a book about judo too, or he did a video series about it. The taekwondo one, I believe, is honorific, which is funny because yeah, the Cookie one, the taekwondo organization tend to have this tendency to give honorary ninth-degree black belts to all sort of random weird people. Even Trump,
Oh
they
wow.
ninth-degree black belt or
Oh
something.
really?
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything because, of course, you haven't done a day of martial art in your life. But it's like it is what it is. But yeah, the judo one is the real one with Putin. And yeah, I mean, that's the problem when people fall in love with something and they have had good experiences with it. They think that everybody does. Same exact thing with psychedelics. You hear people say, "Oh, if you just take mushrooms, you'll become nicer and lovable and fantastic," just as Charlie Manson will tell you, right? It's like,
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I've fallen into that trap myself with psychedelics, but I mean, obviously you can have bad trips, or you can use them as mind control or something like that. And I mean, we know, for example, similarly, the CIA has used acid to experiment on people before.
yeah. So I think it's all of these are tools, and as tools they can be used well and they have the potential to do good stuff. There are a lot of people who change their life for the better thanks to martial arts. There are a lot of people who have changed their lives to the better thanks to psychedelics. There are a lot of people who change their life to the better thanks to a lot of different things.
Yeah,
A guarantee that you're gonna go that way? Hell no. Does that mean that
yeah.
everybody was into that? No, not at all. So it is what it is. It's like it's a tool, and like any tool, it has some good potentials, and it also has some clear limits. Where depending on who you are and how you use it, the tool can be used in radically different ways. And
Yeah.
personally, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And like, in terms of martial arts, with how much it affects your personality, like, I think we've talked a little bit about this before. Like, I haven't done much martial arts myself, but I think it's probably safe to assume that at least psychologically speaking, it's maybe similar to working out, in that I kind of use it as a way to uh get rid of like, channel my anger into some sort of healthy way to get rid of it, but also just kind of a way to focus, and not necessarily even focus on using it as a tool for a way to use my anger, but just as more of like a meditative experience, because it requires so much focus.
And even that's a perfect example, right? Working out, I think it's fantastic. But then again, there are 3 zillion people in jail who work out every day, and they don't necessarily become better people. You have people who meditate all the time, and they use I'm getting calmer, I'm getting more focus, I'm getting more center, so I'm more effective at screwing over everyone in the stock market or becoming, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you can become, just because, for example, you become more disciplined or more assertive or more focused, doesn't mean that you use those qualities for good reasons. You can
Mm-hmm.
be a more disciplined, more assertive, more focused Adolf Hitler. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah,
that's
for
not
sure.
that's not a net gain for everybody else. It's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be active Adolf Hitler. So it's kind of where it's at, where some of these tools sometimes they only give you, like, for me, I think, okay, these can help you, it gives you greater confidence, which leads to you becoming a nicer person. Sometimes you just stop at step one. It gives you that one aspect that you use for reasons that have anything, that are doing anything except self-improvement. They are
Mm-hmm.
improvement purely in the sense of tools of effectiveness, not in moral goodness or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, well, in terms of Hitler, I mean, one example that people have used before is that he was a vegetarian, and if you're a vegetarian for moral reasons, then I mean, obviously, being a vegetarian, like Hitler having been a vegetarian, it's not an argument to say that vegetarianism is inherently good or bad. He just happened to be a vegetarian, and in terms of meditation too, I've heard people talk about how the sort of mindset of mindfulness meditation has been captured by some corporations in a sense that they'll get employees to meditate so that they can be more efficient at making money for their corporations. And then, of course, people have started cults centering around new age stuff and meditation and stuff like that too.
Yeah. So in other words, everything is a tool, and depend how you use it. It's not because you use a particular tool that the results are going to be great. That's
Yeah.
The tool in itself does not guarantee the experience in any way, shape, or form. I mean, everybody, I think, wishes there was this magic pill that you can take in the form of training martial arts or working out or meditating or taking psychedelics or whatever, and it makes you a better human being. No, all the work you do along with using specific tools may make you a better human being. The tooling
Yeah.
won't do it.
Yeah, if you choose to use it that way. Yeah, it reminds me of how, kind of similarly to how you were talking about how in terms of working out, prisoners can work out in prison, but they're doing it to basically be more dangerous and in better shape in case they get in a fight with someone. And you could say the same thing about someone if they're doing martial arts in prison or something like that.
And maybe you can even get the benefit. Maybe for that hour, you are more relaxed, and it does make you feel good, and it fills you with endorphins. And maybe you're slightly nicer than you were 5 minutes before you started because you got some excess anger out of you. Yeah, that's like step one of about 700 you need to take to be a better person. And step one by itself doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so do you think that in terms of Putin, for example, I mean, it's impossible for us to mind read him, of course, but do you think it seems like he's more likely just stuck at kind of that first level? Or I mean, how do those levels change to you? Like how has that changed for you over the years?
I mean, I know, unfortunately, like in the case of martial arts, but really most of these other things, I know way too many people who do these things who are just awful human beings. So
Right.
just the fact that they practice martial arts doesn't tell me much. There are people who practice martial arts and have indeed become much better human beings thanks to the confidence they gained. There are others who just, you think that by virtue of engaging in an activity where your ego inevitably gets checked by losing and having to confront your limits and all of that, that would temper your ego. Well, for some people it does. For other people it doesn't. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just the way the game works. It's not everybody learned the same lessons from the same experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the again, but it's probably similar between working out and martial arts. I'm assuming that like if you if I just squatted 500 pounds for the first time, it depends on how you look at it. I can say, oh sweet, I'm stronger than anyone else I've seen squat in the gym, or you can say, holy shit, there are people who have squatted over 1,000 pounds. Guess I got to keep working harder. And maybe you can do that same sort of thing if you learn a new jujitsu move or something like that. You could say, oh, I'm the first person to learn this move, or you can say, oh, there are world-class people who could throw me around like a rag doll still, so I guess I got to work harder.
Yeah, and I think it's just with everything, right? I mean, think about religions or a great movie or something like that. You know, people go through the experience, they watch the movie, and maybe they love it for completely different reasons from one another. Or people, they read the same Bible or Quran or whatever holy book, and they love it, but what they get from it has nothing to do with each other. You know, one person will be all turn the other cheek, love your neighbor kind of thing, and the other person will be everybody who doesn't follow the way is gonna burn in hell forever. They read the same book, but like what they choose to get from it, and what, like, if you look at two steps away, like how they behave and how their religion inform their behavior, you're gonna have sweet ladies who bake cookies for their neighbors because that's their Christian spirit showing, and you're gonna have people burning people at the stake in the name of their god.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even
Yeah.
talking about the cases where they are not sincere or they are just using religion as a mask. I'm talking about the ones who are totally sincere. There are
Oh
those
yeah, for sure.
that to become objectively nicer people, and the ones who take that and it makes them even nastier than they were before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And like that applies to any sort of ideology, whether it's a religion or a political ideology, or like one thing that I've noticed about myself in the past, which is why I'm not a militant atheist anymore, is that if you like, depending on just like with religion or anything else, depending on the type of atheist you are, you can use that to just basically look at religions as some sort of like, interesting past mythologies that have affected the world and study them like they're interesting fiction books or something like that. Or you can become militant and you can assume religion is all evil, but obviously like being an atheist doesn't inherently make you a good person too. Like you can be an atheist asshole, or you can be an atheist genocidal dictator just as easily as you can be a fucked up theocratic dictator.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing, is we're all looking for like a label or something that helps us say, oh, he sticks to this ideology or this religion, or he practices this art, or he does this thing. And somehow that's gonna inform us of whether this somebody's a nice or not a nice person. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. You know, it's like, I mean, the odds can shift a little. You know, if you are a hardcore fundamentalist from a particular religion, the odds are strong that you're not going to be the most open to dialogue and be respectful of people's differences. But again, those are just the odds. It doesn't, like, honestly, ideologies or activities somebody's engaging have very little to do with how good or bad this person is. And I think we wish there was this simpler test that we, let's see which box they check. Oh, is it the good guys or the bad guys? The reality is more complicated than that. That's just intellectual laziness on our part on wanting something like this, because the simple reality is that that's not how it works. You actually have to get to know people, or maybe not even get to know them, but at least you have good instincts. You know, there are people that I don't know what their ideology is, I don't know what they think, but you look at them for 30 seconds and you run the other way. You're like, hell no. I don't know what they believe. I don't know what they are about, but it's written all over their face that there's something bad going on there. Or vice versa. Maybe you see something and are like, this is a good human being. And again, your instincts may get proven right enough times that you start trusting them as something real, or your record is hot, in which case maybe you shouldn't trust them. Maybe you do get to need more evidence and get to learn to know people at a deeper level. But either way,
Yeah.
it's case by case. You know, it's like this person, either by learning a lot about them or because you have good instincts, you can make a call. but you cannot make a call just based on which boxes they check on the questionnaire, you know?
Yeah, of course. Well, and especially too because someone can be good or bad regardless of whether they agree with us about our own ideological opinions or things like that. Like you know, if
Mhm.
I'm a lefty, I can have friends who are conservative, and if I'm conservative, I can have friends who are lefty, and hopefully if I'm religious, I can have friends who are non-religious and vice versa and all that sort of thing and it's so easy to assume that because we're using this tool in a way that works really well for us that it's going to work the same way for everyone else too, like you were saying how this is encompassing everything. I was thinking about that in terms of diets too, because I used to be like kind of cultish about the ketogenic diet, and then gradually I kind of researched more of the science about it, and eventually, just with my own self experimentation too, went to more of a kind of a balanced diet. But I see people in these like food cults, like carnivore or vegan or vegetarian or stuff like that too, and like most of the time now, if I see people talking about how, oh, this worked amazing for me, so it'll work amazing for everyone else, I just think, well, yeah, there's a hell of a lot of individual variation in terms of nutrition for people and how it
Yep.
affects them. If it works good for you, that's good. You should keep doing it, but just don't just assume that it's going to work just as well for everyone else. They should do what works for them too.
Yeah, exactly. I think it goes back to the fact that people like dogmas, whether they say they do or not. But the reality is that most people like dogmas because they give them certainties. They give them something to fall back on every time. It's like in every context, in every situation, this is the right answer. It's relaxing because you don't have to figure it out at every step of the way. Unfortunately, that's just not the way life works. You do have to
Hmm.
figure it out at every step of the way. Each case is different, each person is different. What works for one doesn't work for the next. Yes, there are some ground rules. Clearly, some, shooting up McDonald's in vain day and night is probably not good for many people. You know what I mean? It's like, so there are rules. Some things are clearly objectively better than others for more people. But again, there are many qualifiers there. Not everybody, not all the time, not all circumstances. The diet example, I did a thing once where I did this 40-day cleanup diet. I was thriving on it. I was doing great. My girlfriend was miserably sick, eating the exact same food. It was great for me, for my body, for the amount that I work out. It was terrible for her. And it's not that it was right or wrong. It's like we got different bodies and different needs at different times. And sometimes some things are good ideas, but they don't necessarily mean they work for everyone the same way. And
Yeah, for sure. And if you get trapped in your ideology about it too, the thing that you can tend to do is just assume, oh, well, you're not doing it the right way then. You got to do it the right way. I'm doing it the right way, and that's why it works for me.
yeah, or you start excluding all the evidence that doesn't fit your argument. You tweak it. That's actually one of the saddest things. I see a lot of people. I don't mean like smart people I know who, when it comes to certain topics, you start looking at the way they analyze evidence, and they turn into 10-year-olds kind of thing. It's just like, how did you take all your intelligence, all the wisdom that you show in all these other contexts, and suddenly when it touches into this thing that you're so emotionally attached to, you become an idiot that way. It's like, how is it even possible that you don't see what you're doing, where you're clearly tweaking the evidence to fit a preconceived conclusion because you want it that bad? And I'm just like, it's funny how that works. It's really interesting. Kind of sad
Yeah.
because you're like, come on, if you who are this smart don't see it, how's everybody else gonna be able to play that game? It makes you a little like, ooh, damn. Even really smart people can fall prey to this kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, that can happen. Like I think I've heard from studies in social science too that it tends to be the case that more intelligent people are sometimes even more prone to believing crazier, more cultish stuff because they're better at rationalizing their intuitions, because that's a skill that more intelligent people have. So it can maybe even make you more prone to believing like crazy theories, like false conspiracy theories or cult stuff or QAnon stuff even, or anything like that.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's it's just the way it works sometimes with people, where this desire to have certain like certainties, this desire to have certain things that are true in every single circumstance, affect their ability to think clearly. To me, like it's really simple. Like I can tell if somebody's like the simple test to see if somebody's actually thinking on their feet or if they are running with the dogma is that if I can tell what you're going to argue on any single issue on earth based on which label you identify with, well, then I know that you are full of shit, because basically you're
Yeah.
just following the party line in A through Z, from global warming to masks to abortion to everything in between. You're just following the party line and finding a way to tweak the evidence to do that. If I don't know
Yeah.
what you're gonna like, if I know what you argue about global warming, but that doesn't necessarily mean I know what you argue about this other thing, that makes me think, okay, you are making choices case by case. You are
Mm-hmm.
not just following a dogma. I'm probably interested in hearing what you have to say, because it tells me you're not simply a dogmatic slave. That's why guys like Dan Carlin I like a lot, because I'm never 100% sure what he's going to argue on any given topic. And that's
Mm-hmm.
because he looks at evidence and lets the evidence draw his conclusion rather than the other way around. And I find it. I mean, it's weird because it's a really low bar. It really shouldn't be something that people get praised for. Because it's like, well, of course, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna look at the evidence and draw the conclusion based on the evidence, right? I mean, that's basic. Everybody does, except you remember, oh no, wait, hardly anybody does, even though it's that. So something that should be just the minimum bar for intellectual honesty is actually a fairly high bar, considering that most people don't meet it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like you said, that's sort of thing seems so rampant. Like anything, any type of mainstream TV media, it's just we're all on the Democrat side or we're all on the Republican side, and you can tell what we're going to think about every issue because we have to all agree about the same set of issues. And then you can see that on people on social media and YouTubers and so many other people who just are on these teams, and then like you were talking about, they justify whatever evidence is contrary to their opinions by to so they can maintain their ideology.
I mean, it's funny too when you see it switching and people like take like vaccines. Up until not long ago, anybody from a more conservative background would have been like, vaccines are the way to go. Only those dumb Hollywood celebrities say that there's something wrong with
Yeah.
vaccine. They are
And
idiots.
people like Kamala Harris would say they wouldn't take the vaccine if Trump said that the vaccine was ready to take.
Right. So it's like, and now suddenly you hit a particular juncture and the roles are flipped. So that tells you that they were never really a real, well thought of belief to begin with. They are, wait, what are my guys saying? Oh, yeah, then I need to wave the flag that way. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, it's funny. That's in terms of vaccines, that's a funny example too, because uh it it was funny that a lot of the like uber pro-Trump people and even like QAnon-ish people were pissed off at Trump for saying that he took the vaccines
Oh, yeah,
because it doesn't fit their narrative, because
yeah,
they think the vaccine is evil and they're trying to get microchipped and stuff. But wait, our leader has said that he got vaccinated. What's up with that?
yeah. No, it's tricky. It really is. But I think that's the reality is that we are not, as a species, we're not really equipped for complicated hot button issues to be thrown at us 24/7 and being exposed to these things that were mainly they are the politics of anger. People don't do well with it. most of the time, the majority of people would be better served by focusing on being nice to their kids, growing tomatoes in the garden, being, if they kept it at that level, they'll probably be fairly decent people, treat their neighbor well, that kind of shit. When you move from there to complicated ideological issues where suddenly their sense of identity gets pulled into it because it's about upholding a certain dogma that is what, then when everything goes out the window, any kind of intelligence or even compassion or nuance or just being a decent person tend to disappear, and the discussions turn nasty in about 0.2 seconds. I don't think most people are well served by dealing with it 24/7. I think the addiction to politics on social media, it's a terrible, terrible idea for most.
For sure.
You can do something about it if you have, but to me, either keep it very local on issues that you have a direct impact and they affect you, or keep it at a level where you can do something about it. But beyond that level, I'm like, you're entering very dangerous ground there, because you're just going to be pissed off most of the time, yell at people that otherwise you would have no reason to yell at, and get into this sort of ideological arguments that have nothing to do with the person you are in terms of how you treat your kids or how you are. Sometimes you run into people who are the sweetest, nicest people, and then you look at their social media and you go like, holy shit. Not just disturbing stuff, but nasty stuff. You're a horrible person on social media. How do you reconcile these with then when you're, you pull over to help the old lady with her flat tire and you do things that are objectively nice things to do, That's where I'm confused, to say the least.
I don't really get it either. I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap like we talked about though, but the social media definitely doesn't help too. It's like you're getting this negative reinforcement all day long where you just arguing with people, and it's hard to resist too, someone to people that it's hard to resist for me sometimes too. Like if someone leaves this really offensive comment and that makes it clear like they didn't even watch the video and they're actually arguing against something that I didn't even say, it's so hard to resist not responding to that. But in reality, I try to remind myself this is probably just some 14-year-old somewhere who thinks they know everything and I'm just arguing about them, or it's some 45-year-old guy who just came home and likes to make fun of people on the internet for fun. Why do I care about what these people think?
And I think some of that is just the fact that the reality is that I think most people feel powerless, because the reality is that they are powerless to affect. We are seeing our world fall into pieces in every direction, from environmental conditions to war to this, that, and the other. And hardly anybody has actual working solution that they can implement. As a result, most people are feeling powerless. Most people are frustrated. So I think lashing out and yelling at somebody else so that they can be your kind of scapegoat for the reason why everything doesn't work is because of asshole like you, maybe. And when the reality is, good luck fixing so many of the problems that we have. Most people don't know how to begin. So it's much easier to yell at somebody else on social media than try to come up with some solution, because the reality is you don't have it. That's kind of...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it's so hard to actually do things that lead to real change, and then people virtue signal on social media because it makes you feel like you've done something important. And I don't even know what to do most of the time to actually try to fix situations like the whole Putin thing that we started off with Russia. The whole situation with Russia and Ukraine is a great example, because everyone has an opinion and they're so sure of themselves, and hardly anyone who comments on it has ever actually even been there let alone actually know what it's like for the people going on in these countries. And it's so hard to actually know what's really going on because everyone has their strong opinions about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. It's yeah, you can say Putin is a crazy narcissist, probably true. Past that, now what? How is the? But again, at least it's a hard line to draw in terms of the solution. Of course, is not complete apathy to political issues, but at the same time, getting involved in a way that you're constantly angry at somebody and yelling at the clouds doesn't work either. So it's almost figuring out where is your energy well spent and where it's actually right to intervene, and where you're just getting angry for no good reason and wasting your time. And it's a judgment call, right? In some cases, take like a Russian case. In some cases, for example, if in Russia there's enough backlash, Putin may start feeling the squeeze put on him, where he may not be able to push through. It's kind of like the same way as in any country. If there's a huge anti-war movement against a war started by that same country, it becomes harder to keep going when your own citizens are against it. So that's a good use of political involvement. But of course, every one of cases where it works like that, there are plenty of cases where you're just yelling at the clouds and getting mad at your neighbor for no reason.
Yeah, for sure. And the well, like in terms of the internet and social media too, that is also just as much of a tool that can be used for good or bad. Although it gets used for bad most of the time. Like there have been positive protests and stuff like that have started over social media, and sometimes people have put pressure on companies and they've made changes that people have heard about. So that can be a good thing too. But it does it's hard to actually organize something like that and to try to join something like that if you think it's actually a good cause.
Very much so. Very much so. And that's where I think, like, I'm not you only need to figure out what's going on in your household and forget everything else. That's not what I'm advocating. But at the same time, putting the bulk of your energy where you can have the most amount of impact, that seems wise. It's like the most amount of impact you have in the relationship with the people you interact with every day, in your relationship, in your romantic relationships, with the relationship with your kids, in your immediate community. You can have so much more impact in their lives than you can have on a larger world. That does not mean you shouldn't, or the Jordan Peterson thing is like, until you have figured everything out about your life and fix yourself, forget about the wider world. It's like, no, you can still worry about the wider world to some degree. But of course, you should prioritize a little bit, like, where is that you have limited energy? How much energy can you put in something, and what are the odds that's going to lead somewhere good? So it's a calculation. It's not a dogmatic yes you should or no you shouldn't. It's both at the same time. Just figure out in each case where it's most conducive to leading to good results.
Yeah, well said. Like sometimes maybe most of the time it's better to focus on what's happening in your immediate life, like your town, your family, your household, and that sort of thing. But you can still be concerned about bad things happening on in the world and try to solve them at the same time. It's like a balancing act, and you choose what to prioritize on depending on the situation.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you said you wanted to end right around the end of the hour there.
Yeah, speaking of, we started talking about martial arts, and I just realized they invited me to go train at 5:30, so I need to get drive over and get to train in a little bit. So that's why I'm like, okay, got to go.
All right, cool, man.
Hopefully I don't turn into Putin. Let's see.
Yeah. Try not to invade any countries either.
I shall try.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for having this little chat for me, man. And maybe sometime in the future we can have a bit of a longer one like we had last time. I still thought we were going to talk about how Quentin Tarantino is probably wrong about Bruce Lee supposedly being a fraud, as he talked about. So maybe we could talk about that next time.
Cool.
So,
Good.
all right, cool. Yeah, thanks, man. Always fun to talk. And thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to the channel, click that like button, click the bell to be notified. I'm going to come out with more videos, got some more podcasts and stuff like that coming up. One about Brandon Sanderson's book called Six of the Dusk, and him recently starting a record-breaking Kickstarter over novels that he wrote in secret over the pandemic, and lots of other stuff. And check out my Patreon page. The description is link for the pages in the description of the video, as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And use things like martial arts and working out and diets as tools. They're not a fix all things, and you can use them for good or bad. And check out all of Daniele Bolelli's stuff, his History on Fire podcast, his Drunken Taoist podcast, and all of his books, and all of the other podcasts he's been on, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, anything else you want to say before we end it there?
All good, man.
All right, thanks again, and thanks everyone, and adios until next time.